Today we're going to talk about New Fan. It's a football subscription method where fans can buy a share in the club. They get then the option to have a vote on club matters. They've bought AFC Crewe, which is a 14th tier football club in England. I've got Scott here with me today. What do you think of an idea as a whole? Like, how do you see this panning out for them?
Yeah, obviously I hadn't heard of it before, and I think instantly I kind of thought it's almost similar to having shares in a company, but it's a little bit different because you can only obviously purchase a subscription, but your vote only counts for one. Pretty much however many subscribers they have, everyone has equal vote. So I get where they're probably going, where they're like, okay, if everyone has equal vote, we're now removing the ability for, I think their big thing is corruption, right?
Yeah.
They want to remove corruption. They don't want certain people or certain individuals just making the choice or speaking for the majority when it's maybe like two people doing it. I get where they're coming from and it's probably a good idea, but potentially as we start getting larger to bigger scales or bigger clubs, I think other problems are going to exist that probably don't exist at a small level. Because right now, okay, you've got, I don't know, let's say 100 people for this small club that have subscribed. They're paying $5 a week or whatever. There's not much money involved in it, so no one really cares too much. But let's say you apply this now to a bigger club. What's stopping someone going, well, hey, if you 10 people vote this, here's some extra money.
Oh, so like a bit of bribery kind of behind closed doors.
Because that's essentially what happens. Like, look at how they vote for the FIFA World Cup. That's what's happening behind closed doors. Every nation gets one vote, but yeah, there's still corruption.
So now you can buy other people's boards, and especially because, if the everyday person, the people who are subscribed, the money kind of you need to offer potentially is not as high.
I think at the small level it would work, especially because you're like, okay, here's a club that I either play for, because at this level that they're playing, what are they? Like
14th tier.
Yeah, 14th tier. Probably most of the people probably buying a subscription have played for the club or play for the club right now.
Oh, you probably think maybe local fans too,
yeah.
Small community.
Yeah. So at that time there, like, it's fair, it's probably involved, it's engaged, but when it gets to a larger scale, but then at the same time, how many people can you buy off?
Well, you'd have to know them all, and potentially, it might all be anonymous.
I think when you probably do look at bigger scale, maybe that actually probably isn't as big of an issue, because if you've got 10,000 people now subscribed, it is pretty hard to potentially, because firstly, how are you going to do it discreetly that no one knows that you're doing it?
What do you mean, like buying them off?
Yeah. Because if someone comes to you, if they only win one vote and there's 10,000 votes, it doesn't mean anything. They need to get, 10% of the vote to potentially see a benefit of what they're trying to achieve.
Imagine trying to hunt down like 1,000 people though.
Correct. I think because they're going to be random. You might not even know them at all. It probably does work. In removing.
I think it's a good point, but at this level, it probably, I don't know, I can't see there being too much going wrong.
No,
like they're just trying to keep the club in the fans' hands. But, if, say this club does progress to start getting success, to get promoted and it grows, all of a sudden the fan base has gone from 10,000 to 20,000 to 30,000. And now all those things become much harder because you've got to track down individual people.
Yeah.
You're not, paying off one group that has half the shares.
The part that I would find difficult to deal with as well, like let's say you've got a local club, like they're 14th tier, like they're probably pretty amateur, like they're not, like they're more probably a local club than anything. There's still like, I don't know, probably a director, probably someone that manages the treasurer. And however, these probably people are probably putting in the work and doing the work. So who makes the decisions of what they're voting on? Is it these individuals still, or?
That's what I wondered. The club would have to obviously employ certain people.
Yeah.
And if there is an idea, hey, the club should do this, someone has to have the idea and put it forward. So is there some level where there are people above, like, proposing the ideas?
Yeah, because it's tough, because I've seen in other sports, I love bringing them up, but Freo, so they changed all their branding, they did all this stuff to, change the logo, the colours changed slightly, and then they looked at changing the team song, and they put up 3 songs, and then the members of the club could then vote for which song they thought was the best, but the club's still picking which 3 songs that they would want, so they're probably happy with one of the 3. Maybe that's still a better method, because at the end of the day, 3 songs get put forward, the members vote, and they go, at the end of the day, majority voted for this song. Where if the club just go, here's our new team song, which has happened in other teams, and it was just hated by the fans. So if there is some level of decision making where they do feel, okay, I've had some level in that choice, maybe that does go a bit of a long way.
It sounds like maybe something similar is going to happen, but instead of just small, like we're thinking about doing this. I know plenty of clubs have voted for like when they've changed the badges, or they've come out and said, we're definitely changing it, here are the options, and fans have voted. This seems like the fans have an option to vote for players they want to sign, like management appointments, and even still, it's only just come about this season, and I think at this lower level, it's been away with the whole subscription. It's been like a way to generate a lot of income for the club, which, reading up on it, they've invested straight away into like cameras at the ground, so now everyone can watch the games worldwide. you and I here in Australia, we can now sign up to the subscription and be a part owner and have like a little vote and have our say in this club, whereas it's almost impossible to do that for any other club.
Yeah.
So even just that small thing, I think people might be able to, the fact they're invested in the club financially might give them more interest and tie them to it.
I wonder at this club if it's more, here's a way that we can make a little bit extra money to do potentially these things. Like I think they, like you said, they equipped the grounds with some cameras so they could do it. Is it a way that they go, okay, here's a way that we can kind of get some money or some further money from our fans?
Is it sustainable long term though? Or is it just like a quick, here's a way we can just boost a bit of money? I mean, the cameras, I guess they're now broadcasting their games to a broader audience, you think?
Yeah.
So it is kind of putting things in place to build.
Well, the thing with it is, at the end of the day, you want the smartest people making the right decision. If you're trying to make a decision which is going to affect your club for 10 years or 20 years, yes, you can put it out to the fan vote, but you still want the smartest people coming up with the options, I think, because I don't know anything about running a business. Like, you probably don't know either. Like, the average person doesn't know what's right. So are they making informed decisions of what they're voting for?
Or they're just voting on emotion, or like, this player seems good.
Well, I think like my question is, who is actually coming up with what they're voting for? Like at the end of the day, there's still going to be a board of directors or something that are coming up with, okay, here's some ideas that we've presented. We're not going to say if it's yes or no for the club. We'll put it out to the fans. And it gets difficult because I think as a fan, naturally you're not willing to make the tough choice, the hard decisions. But people in these positions on boards generally will make the tough decisions. Let's say
like sacking a manager or something.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think there's pros to it, but I just don't know if it's a spin of like, oh, let's remove the corruption or.
Does it sound good? Do you think it sounds maybe more better in theory than it does practically? Like, give the power back to the fans, let the fans choose what they want and how the clubs run, and make sure no foreign owners comes in and just takes us for a ride and pulls all the money out and stuff like that. How does it actually work?
How does it actually work? Yeah, and they might, who knows? They might have like a really strong model that it does work. But I almost look at it, is this just an extra way that the club can make money? Because at the end of the day, are the decisions that they're putting to the fans, are they actually, who's coming up with them in the first place? Are they kind of directions that they already want to go?
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, hey, look, we kind of want to do this, but here are two kind of ideas that are similar, but which one would you prefer? It's not all the people that are subscribed coming up with ideas and they give, because that would be a free-for-all. Because imagine the ridiculous ideas that you'd be voting on. There'd be people making the dumbest, I don't know, you just read on Facebook of any fan page of any club and you'll just read some stupid comment of like, and they're a loyal fan and they think it's probably a good idea in their head, but probably 99% of the other fans don't. And maybe that's how it is, and they just, those things just get kind of,
or even just like the emotion, like you lose a game, you're like, oh no, okay, get rid of the manager, like this club's gone nowhere, when really someone a bit more sensible might say, no, give him time, and then that person would turn things around.
Yeah, correct.
Like, for me, it seems like a bit of a novelty, like the whole subscription thing. Like, how much value are you actually getting out of your money? Like, are you actually putting more money into this club than you would normally just by supporting another team? And, you're there voting, but potentially none of the things you vote for actually get voted in. Like, you might be the minority,
correct,
with your opinion and stuff like that. So what turns out is you're just injecting all this money into a club that you're not seeing the benefit of.
Does that then potentially turn you against the club? You're like, oh, all my ideas are getting like, I want all these things and they're not kind of happening the way that you want it to go. But I think emotion is a big one, because you think of like, I don't know, even think of Liverpool, for example. I don't know, they've probably not done as well this year, or they haven't done as well this year as they have the last probably, I don't know, however many years that Klopp's been the manager. But there would be some Liverpool fans out there, they're like, oh, get rid of him.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous, because
and they
he's
might
got such a bulk season on season of success, or finishing near the top of the table, where let's say you lose a big game to a big rival like Man United or Everton, instantly you're going to be like, oh man, let's get rid of him.
Yeah, you just make rash decisions based on emotion. And and even that, like, if Liverpool have a bad season 2 seasons ago, people voted him out there. Since then, Liverpool have gone and won trophies that they might not have won because they made a decision just based on the fans being angry or just acting on things like that.
I think there's obviously merit in it. It seems to me very similar to kind of a membership that you would have. So you'd obviously be a member, maybe not a seated member in a club, but most clubs also have like, I don't know what they call them, like
international members
or fan member or whatever it might be, where you're not actually getting a ticket but you're supporting the club. What do you think that it would look like in a big club?
Like Premier League level?
Yeah. You as a fan...
Would I want this to happen to my club kind of thing?
Well, not only that, would you want it to happen to your club, but then secondly, would you want to be involved in it?
I don't know. If obviously, as like fans, you probably have your own ideas, but like a lot of the points you made earlier, like you kind of leave it to the people who know. Like who knows more about managing a team, me or Klopp? Obviously Klopp. Who knows more about being on the board of a football club? It's probably the guys who are already there. It's not me. You know, I might argue I want the results more than what the guys might because of like my history with the club and how I feel about it and whatnot. But I feel like if the same structure was there, obviously Liverpool being a massive global club as well, like there'd be millions of people voting on things that if they are putting up one suggestion, how many options are there now to vote for? And if you're talking about fans from Australia, there's fans in England, there's fans in India, China, all over the world, like there's so many different culture clashes too. Yeah. Sometimes it is maybe just best to leave the decisions to the guys who know what they're doing. Something small, like anything historical where maybe the fans might know a bit more when it comes to, I know in the past teams like Man City, they've changed the badge and I think these are things that probably resonate more with the fans than maybe the employees of the club and the guys higher up. So things like that definitely are voted for.
I could understand that. Because what I also think as well, like, let's say, I don't know, Liverpool have however many fans, let's say they rolled out this model and 10 million people jump on board and they do it. There's also, fans may turn on fans. Like, because if there's a key decision to be made, let's say it's this option or this option, and then prior to that decision being made, there's going to be discussion. So there's going to be, I don't know, information about both choices. There's going to be discussion on forums, on social media. And there are going to be fans that turn on, and maybe that's probably not what you would want.
Yeah, it might split the fan base. Normally fans are kind of united as fans. Yeah. And then you've got like the club and the board.
It's probably the best part of sport is that you have people from completely different backgrounds, interests, whatever, but then they do have the common interest of our passion for the club. So like they might not agree on other things. And I think that if you do have the ability to now make a choice about your club and then you know that we might support the same team and we might disagree, instantly we're going to be, there's a division.
Yeah, imagine if
probably not what you would want.
You and I are both Liverpool fans, say, and something comes up and I'm like, yeah, I'll vote for that. And then you've told me, oh no, that's a terrible idea. We're both fans and meant to be united and have had the same goals, but all of a sudden it's created division. Whereas, you know, if the club's made a decision, then, you know, you're either going to like it or you don't, but you might hold, not me solely responsible, but you know, if something happens that I'm like, I'm keen for that and you didn't want it to happen. Yeah, there's definitely my case.
And it's a bit different as well for having different opinions of like, let's say you like a player, I don't rate the player. It's very different to that because like you said, you potentially now have a choice that you can make that can affect the club long term.
This club too also had the option of like paying double and then you get like a double vote essentially. Yeah, right. So imagine like, you know, you can only really personally budget for paying X amount in your subscription and you know your mate's got a double vote and you're voting for different things. So
correct, yeah.
Like just small things like that on a larger scale would all add up.
Well, their subscriptions are like $3.99 and then the 2 vote system's $8.99. At a bigger club, you're going to expect that probably to be more. Like if you're paying, you're probably going to expect that to be like, I don't know a number, but I would think plus $100. Yeah. Like it's going to be thereabouts. And yeah, like you said, some people obviously can only afford $100. Yeah. Or can only a certain type of individual afford to get this in the first place.
So it's all of a sudden like the richer fans or the fans with more income.
Yeah.
It's more like the club's going to go in a direction of the guys with the double votes, presumably.
Correct. Yeah.
So if there's a decision to be made that, you know, this is going to affect certain fans, this is going to affect another group, things are going to sway in the ways of the guys paying the double subscription.
And then also, how do you regulate who's signing up? Like, can people create fake accounts? As long as they're paying the $100, you could have some guy who's got a bunch of money. He goes buys, I don't know, 1,000 subscriptions under 1,000 different names.
Yeah, that's another point.
And it's so easy. Like, you know, you could just pay someone offshore to go and do it.
Put in different names, like.
Yeah. Or you could just like there would be. I don't know, I'm sure you could just put it on the internet.
Or if you're not interested,
someone would go and do it for you and you'd pay them however much. Yeah. But I think, like, as a fan, maybe this is just the individual that I am, is that I would put faith in the people at the top making the right or the correct decisions, because these are areas and things that I might be passionate about, but doesn't mean that I can
Doesn't mean
doesn't mean that I can make a good decision on this. So I think that obviously their whole mindset is, what if the board's corrupt? Because obviously people have different motives. Are we prioritising making a profit, or are we prioritising winning a league? And that probably becomes the biggest thing, where potentially the people on the board might be prioritising, how do we maximise the profit that we make, when the fans potentially don't really they don't really care if you're making too much of a profit. They probably just want, okay, as long as we're not operating at a loss, but if we're challenging the league, that's more important.
I even like that whole corruption thing. I think like very quickly just thinking about it, we've thought of some ways that you could probably exploit the system.
Yeah.
Whether or not they've got like great measures in place to prevent that, but you could easily just say, hey, if you're not invested in my club, I'll just flick you some cash, you subscribe, then you can just vote how I tell you to choose. So there'll be a way to kind of sway the votes one way or another.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, that basically wraps up our conversation about Newfan, I believe it's pronounced, and AFC Crewe and what they're doing there this season. It seems to be quite a new idea. They've just taken it over at the start of the current season, the 22-23 season. Let us know if you've heard about that before and what you think, whether you agree with what Scott and myself have said today. Make sure you're following us on Instagram. Give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy conversations like that. But otherwise, I've been Ant, this has been Scott, and this has been Red Mate. Thanks for watching.